Title: Heartfelt Confession, a tale of love, betrayal, and redemption. In the early 20th century, society became obsessed with materialism and self centeredness, leading to a rise in social norms that prioritized wealth and social status over personal growth. This trend was particularly evident after World War One, when people began to push others for their own luxurious lives and blood relations. John Eliot, a boy from a poor family, is an example of this phenomena. John lived with his father, Mr. Thompson, and two brothers. He is an elder in his family. One of his brothers, Jason, is mentally retarded, while another, Jim, is studying in a nearby school. Mr. Thompson is a guard in a private firm whose hard duty is of 24 hours. He is an honest and responsible gentleman. His teaching to his children are the same. John has to take care of his family being an elder one. This family has to live by hand to mouth, but it's not dependent on anyone. John is an intelligent and determined young man who dreams of flying into the world of knowledge, fame, and money. He believes that illness must be demolished by roots. His hope lies in his belief in the power of hope and the power of perseverance. John's parents are concerned about the societal norms that judge others based on their wealth and dress codes. They believe that eliminating poverty from society could be achieved by focusing on the poor. John meets Albert, a wealthy boy who initially dislikes but later becomes friends with. However, John's parents fear the consequences of societal expectations and the potential for societal differentiation. John is a responsible but sensitive person who dislikes self loving people and often takes him to parties of rich families to see their own true lifestyles. He wishes for a change in a society and doesn't want to be one of those arrogant and wicked hearts. One day, Mr. Thompson falls unconscious while performing his duty, leading to a police investigation and a decision to sell his home and pay the debt to the firm. This tragic event highlights the importance of recognizing and addressing the societal issues that shape our lives today. John, a young man struggling to make ends meet, struggled with his family's financial struggles and societal expectations of the wealth. He sells things on his cycle to earn money for education and care, but his father is attacked by tuberculosis. The father's health forces John to spend the money on his health. His neighbors taunt him about having a thieving family, and John asking his father to leave the house. He struggles to find a way to make his word, but sometimes losing hope and becomes angry against the rich. One day, Albert sees John and his family lying on the footpath and offers to help them. John agrees to some conditions, and Albert agrees to give John's loan for his education and better care. John attends college and works on a scholarship, eventually becoming a police officer. He is initially criticized for his poverty, but eventually realizes that he can overcome it with hard work and determination. He gives back the loan to his friend Albert, who helps him in his tough phase of life. One day, John meets Ferry, a young girl from a wealthy family. Ferry is a spiritual Christian who helps the needy and is opposite to thought to most of the rich. They became good friends, and John is surprised when Albert offers to propose to Ferry. John withdraws. Albert purchases the young of John's choice and proposes to Ferry. However, John becomes absent and decides not to marry ever. Albert and Ferry get married, though John attends the ceremony but remains distressed. After his father's death, Jason remains ill, and John's younger brother, James, goes abroad to study. John moves to another city, feeling alienated and depressed. One day, John gets into an accident with a Parado, and he realized that his friend Albert would be displeased with him for not attending his first marriage anniversary. He apologizes and goes to Ferry's home, where he tells him about Albert's death 2 months before in an accident. John feels more isolated and blames himself for his loss. After 1 year, he realizes the Ferry is upset and sad, and he wants to give him a hopeful life. He proposes to Ferry, who rejects the offer. John meets her father, Mr. Amir, and requests his acceptance as his son in law. Mr. Amir emphasizes that John would approve a better partner for her. Both couples get married, but Ferry takes time to accept him as her husband. John feels guilty and decides to tell the truth of his wife, Ferry, about the accident and the death of the other. After 6 months of marriage, Ferry has good news for John. She wants to share with John while he has been getting tense for some days because of his dream. He has seen Albert in his dream for many days without knowing the reason, which makes him distraught. He feels guilty and decides to tell the truth to his beloved wife, Ferry. On the other side, Ferry goes to his office to tell him the good news. She is very happy, but when she sees John sad, she asks him to tell her first what has happened. John tells the truth, and she listens. Each wave of smile from her face has disappeared. She returns from the office suddenly. John follows her. She wants to clarify and consoles her. She comes back home, and John too after her. However, when he reaches, he sees her lying down on the floor in her the bedroom. He picks up her head and keys it on his lap. He is very embarrassed. Ferry tells him that she went to the office to tell the good news about the pregnancy, but now she feels to be wrong. Marriage with him was a mistake of hers. She will not give birth to the child of that person who became the cause of the death of her love. She takes a last long breath. John is overcome with grief and cries. Alone in this world, John must face society and accept punishment for a crime he never committed. When John regains his senses, he discovers a bottle of poison in her hand. She chose to end her life, not wanting to live with the murderer. In this moment, John realizes the success isn't solely dependent on hard work and struggle. Now he is accused of murder and burdened by his father's criminal past.